The love that feels too good to be true often is. It arrives like a warm blanket on a winter night, a rescuer pulling you from the cold waters of loneliness. You feel seen, cherished, protected. But then slowly, almost imperceptibly, the blanket begins to feel heavy. The rescuer's grip tightens. You can't quite put your finger on it, but the air around this person, once so liberating, now feels thin, conditional. You start editing your words, second-guessing your decisions, shrinking your world to fit into the comfortable, safe space they've designed for you. You tell yourself it's love. You tell yourself they just care deeply. But in the quiet moments when your own thoughts finally have room to breathe, a terrifying question surfaces. Is this love, or is this the most sophisticated cage you've ever been in? This is the people-pleaser's trap. It's a gilded prison built with the bricks of affection and mortared with good intentions. It's a form of control so subtle, so insidious, that to even question it makes you feel like the crazy one, the ungrateful one. The person orchestrating it isn't a cartoon villain. They are often wounded people themselves, projecting their own shadow, their own desperate need for control onto you. And if you are a people pleaser, someone conditioned to seek validation and avoid conflict at all costs, you are the perfect, unwitting accomplice in your own emotional incarceration. Your desire to be loved becomes the very tool they use to control you. Today, we are not just looking at red flags. We are performing psychological surgery. We are going to expose the 8 hidden signs that their love is actually a campaign of secret control. This is your wake-up call. This is the moment you stop handing over the keys to your own life and start learning how to protect your energy, your mind, and your future. Sign number 1, their generosity is a leash. At first, it's intoxicating. They pay for every dinner. They buy you thoughtful, expensive gifts for no reason. They offer to handle your car repairs, help with your taxes, lend you money you didn't even ask for. It feels like an overwhelming tide of kindness, and you, the people pleaser, feel a profound sense of gratitude mixed with a subtle, gnawing unease. You think, wow, no one has ever cared for me this much. But what you're failing to see is the invisible price tag attached to every single gesture. This isn't charity, it's a transaction. The controller, often unconsciously, uses generosity to establish a power imbalance. Every gift, every favor is a deposit into an emotional bank account they control. You become a debtor in a currency you don't understand. The unspoken agreement is that you now owe them. You owe them your compliance, your time, your gratitude, and your agreement. Consider the story of a man named David. David was an artist, brilliant but perpetually struggling. He met Sarah, a successful consultant who seemed enchanted by his creative spirit. Sarah showered him with support. She bought him the finest canvases, paid for a studio space he could never afford, and connected him with her wealthy friends. David was ecstatic. He felt he had finally found a patron saint, someone who truly believed in him. He worked harder than ever, pouring his gratitude into his art. But then the leash began to tighten. When David wanted to spend a weekend on a solo retreat to find inspiration, Sarah would look wounded. But after all I've done to set up this perfect studio for you, I thought we'd spend the weekend together. When an old friend from his struggling artist days invited him out for a cheap beer, Sarah would counter with, "Why would you want to go there? I made reservations at that Michelin star restaurant you love." Each refusal, each attempt by David to assert his own desires was met with a subtle, pained reminder of her generosity. She never had to say, "You owe me." The weight of all she had given him said it for her. He began to feel suffocated. The beautiful studio felt like an office where he was employed to be her artist boyfriend. The expensive dinners felt like board meetings where his role was to be charming and grateful. Her generosity wasn't fuel for his fire, it was a fire extinguisher for his independence. He was living a life she had purchased for him, and the cost was his own soul. This is the insidious nature of generosity as a weapon. It preys on a good person's sense of fairness. To reject a gift feels rude. To say no after they've done so much for you feels monstrously ungrateful. And so you comply. You go to the dinner you don't want to attend. You cancel plans with your old friends. You slowly cede territory, one thank you at a time, until you look up and realize you're living in a beautiful, comfortable prison of their making. The actionable step here is to reclaim your financial and operational independence, even if it feels uncomfortable. Start by politely refusing a gift. That's so incredibly generous of you, but I've got it covered. It will feel awkward. They will likely push back, feigning hurt. Don't you want me to help you? Your response must be calm and firm. I deeply appreciate the thought, but it's important for me to handle this myself. You must also learn to pay your own way whenever possible. Insist on splitting the bill. If they loan you money, pay it back with a formal, documented transfer as quickly as possible. This isn't about being ungrateful, it's about keeping the scales balanced. True generosity gives without expectation. Controlled giving is a down payment on your obedience. Learn the difference. Sign number 2, the sabotage of self-reliance. This sign is a masterclass in covert manipulation. The controller presents themselves as your ultimate helper, your rock, your problem solver. Your car breaks down. They have a mechanic on speed dial and handle the whole thing. You're struggling with a project at work. They'll stay up all night helping you research and write it. You feel overwhelmed by life. They'll create a schedule for you, manage your appointments, and remind you of your to-do list. On the surface, it looks like unconditional support. But look deeper, their help has a sinister, underlying message. You can't do this without me. This isn't about empowering you, it's about fostering dependence. Each problem they solve for you is a lesson in your own incompetence. They aren't teaching you how to fish, they are gutting the fish, cooking it, and spoon-feeding it to you, all while whispering how lucky you are that they were there to catch it. Over time, your own self-confidence erodes. You start to believe their narrative. You begin to think, I'm just not good at handling these things. I'm so scattered. Thank God I have them. Think of Maya, a bright young woman who moved to a new city. She was in a relationship with a man named Leo, who was older and more established. In the beginning, his guidance was a godsend. He helped her find an apartment, navigate the subway system, and even proofread her resume. Maya felt so supported, but the pattern continued. When she wanted to learn to assemble her own IKEA furniture, Leo insisted, "Oh, let me do that, honey. You'll just get frustrated." When she considered taking a personal finance course, he waved it off. "Don't worry about that boring stuff. I'll manage our budget. You just focus on your new job." He never said, "You're incapable." He simply demonstrated it over and over again. He was always one step ahead, solving problems she hadn't even fully identified yet. The result, Maya's sense of agency atrophied. The thought of navigating a challenge on her own began to fill her with anxiety. She had forgotten how. Leo wasn't her partner, he had become her outsourced executive functioning. When a promotion at work required her to lead a complex project from scratch, she panicked. She had no faith in her ability to manage it alone. She had been subtly trained to believe that her competence was a shared resource, with Leo holding the majority stake. The controller does this to make themselves indispensable. Their greatest fear is that you will realize you are a whole, capable, powerful person on your own. Because if you realize that, you won't need them anymore. And their entire identity is often built on being needed. So they help you in a way that breaks your legs, and then they win your eternal devotion by handing you a pair of crutches that they built. The way out of this trap is to actively reclaim tasks and challenges, especially the ones that intimidate you. You must intentionally build your competence muscle. The next time a problem arises, big or small, pause. Before you text them, before you ask for their help, say to yourself, "I am going to try to solve this first." Go on YouTube and learn how to fix the leaky faucet yourself. Call the insurance company and sit on hold and figure it out. Tackle the complicated work project by breaking it down into small steps. It will be harder, it will be slower, you will make mistakes. But each small victory, each problem you solve on your own, rebuilds the self-reliance they have been systematically dismantling. You must consciously choose struggle over their convenient solutions, because in that struggle lies the path back to your own power. Sign number 3, weaponized concern. This is one of the most psychologically damaging forms of control because it's disguised as love's highest expression. Worry. The phrase, "I'm just worried about you," becomes the perfect Trojan horse to deliver criticism, judgment, and control. It allows the controller to critique your life choices, your friends, your career, your hobbies, your diet, not as a matter of opinion, but as a matter of your own safety and well-being. It reframes their control as your protection. They don't say, "I don't like your friend Jessica." They say, "I'm just worried Jessica is a bad influence on you. She seems so reckless." They don't say, "I think you should quit that job." They say, "I'm just worried that job is causing you too much stress. I can't bear to see you so anxious." They don't say, "Don't go on that trip." They say, "I'm just worried about you traveling alone. The world is so dangerous. What if something happens?" Do you see the genius of it? It's almost impossible to argue against. If you get defensive, you look like you're rejecting their love and concern. You're the one being difficult, while they are just a loving partner or friend who cares so much. This tactic preys directly on the people-pleaser's desire to not cause worry or distress in others. You start to believe their anxieties are valid. You start to see the world through their fearful lens. Imagine a young man, Ben, who has a passion for rock climbing. His partner, Chloe, is constantly anxious about it. Every time he plans a trip, the weaponized concern begins. "I just have a bad feeling about this, Ben. I read an article about a climber who fell. I won't be able to sleep the whole time you're gone. I'm just so worried." She frames it as her love for him, her fear of losing him. But what's really happening? She is making her anxiety his responsibility. His passion becomes the source of her pain. To alleviate her anxiety, he must give up his joy. A people-pleaser like Ben finds this dilemma excruciating. He loves Chloe and he hates causing her pain, so he starts climbing less. He cancels a big trip he was excited about. He tells himself it's a compromise, but it's not. It's a concession. He is editing his life to manage her emotions. Chloe's worry has successfully controlled his behavior and clipped the wings of his passion. He didn't lose his love for climbing. He was made to feel guilty for it. The controller who uses this tactic is often projecting their own deep-seated anxieties onto you. They cannot control their own fear, so they seek to control your behavior to soothe themselves. They are making you smaller to make their world feel safer. The antidote is to learn to separate their feelings from your reality. You must develop a strong internal anchor. When they say, "I'm worried about X," you have to learn to respond with compassion but without concession. A powerful response is, "I understand that you're worried and I appreciate that it comes from a place of care, but this is something that is important to me, and I have assessed the risks and am confident in my ability to handle it. I cannot take responsibility for your anxiety, but I can reassure you that I will be safe." This response does 3 crucial things. It validates their feeling, "I understand you're worried." It asserts your autonomy, "This is important to me." And it hands the responsibility for their emotion back to them. "I cannot take responsibility for your anxiety." This will feel like a declaration of war to them. They will likely escalate their concern, but you must hold the line. You are not responsible for managing anyone's anxiety but your own. True love supports your growth even if it scares them. Control demands you stay small to keep them comfortable. Sign number 4, the monopoly on your time. A key resource for any individual is their time and their social connections. The The controlling lover understands this intuitively. They seek to become the sun in your solar system, and all other planets, friends, family, hobbies must either orbit them or be flung into the cold darkness of space. This is rarely done with outright demands. It's a slow, methodical process of social engineering. It starts subtly. When you have plans with a friend, they suddenly have a really bad day and need you. Or they'll plan a spectacular, can't-miss date night on the very same evening. They create a conflict of loyalty, forcing you to choose. And because their need or their offer seems so much more intense or special, the people-pleaser often cancels on their friend, feeling a pang of guilt but justifying it. This escalates. They'll make passive-aggressive comments about your friends. Karen just seems to drain your energy so much, or every time you hang out with Mark, you come back in a bad mood. They aren't forbidding you from seeing them. They are planting seeds of doubt, poisoning the well. They are making you associate your own friendships with negative outcomes. Think of Lisa, who had a vibrant circle of friends before she started dating Tom. Tom was charming and attentive, and at first he made an effort with her friends. But soon the monopoly began. If Lisa had girls' night planned, Tom would text her throughout, "Missing you so much. Is it almost over?" making her feel guilty for being away. He started planning elaborate weekend trips, booking them months in advance, effectively boxing out any opportunity for spontaneous plans with others. He'd say things like, "We have so little time together, let's just make it about us." The we and us narrative is powerful. It makes the relationship feel like a sacred, exclusive club, but it's an exclusivity that comes at the cost of your entire social support network. Lisa slowly drifted from her friends. It wasn't one big fight, it was 1,000 small concessions. A canceled coffee here, a rain-checked dinner there. Before she knew it, Tom was her entire social life. And that's exactly where the controller wants you. When you are isolated, you are easier to control. You have no outside perspective. There's no friend to say, "Hey, the way he talks to you isn't right." There's no family member to notice how much you've changed. Your only source of validation, comfort, and reality checking is the controller themselves. They have become your entire world, and now they get to write the laws of that world. Your dependence is total. To break this cycle, you must treat your other relationships like a vital nutrient. You must actively and fiercely protect your time with friends and family. Put it in your calendar and guard it like you would a critical work meeting. When the controller tries to sabotage your plans with a sudden crisis or a tempting offer, you must learn to say, "That sounds amazing, but I already have a commitment to Sarah tonight. Let's plan on that for tomorrow." You are not just having coffee with a friend, you are maintaining a vital lifeline to the outside world. You are reinforcing your own identity outside of the relationship. Expect pushback, expect guilt trips, expect them to pout or give you the silent treatment. This is the tantrum of a controller losing their grip. Your job is to weather that storm without caving. Every time you honor a plan with someone else, you are casting a vote for your own autonomy. Sign number 5, emotional outsourcing. In a healthy relationship, partners support each other emotionally. In a controlling one, you are not a partner, you are an emotional janitor. The controller outsources the entire job of their emotional regulation to you. Their happiness becomes your responsibility. Their anger becomes your fault. Their anxiety becomes your project to solve. This dynamic turns you into a hyper-vigilant, perpetually anxious performer. You wake up in the morning and your first thought isn't, "What do I want to do today?" but "What mood is he in today?" You learn to read micro-expressions, shifts in tone, the way they close a door, all in an attempt to forecast their emotional weather and hopefully prevent a storm. Your own feelings, needs, and desires get shoved into a tiny, soundproof room because there's simply no space for them. All your energy is consumed by managing the emotional state of another adult. Consider the case of a woman named Clara living with her partner Mark. Mark was prone to sullen moods and quiet, simmering anger. He never yelled, which made it even more insidious. If Clara was happy and energetic when he was in a mood, he would say things like, "Must be nice to be so carefree," instantly making her feel guilty for her own joy. If she brought up a problem or a concern of her own, he'd sigh and say, "I just can't deal with any more stress right now," effectively silencing her. Clara found herself in a constant, exhausting dance. She would try to cheer him up, make his favorite meal, suggest a movie he liked, put on his favorite music. She was tap dancing for his smile. When her efforts worked, she felt a wave of relief. She had done her job, she had kept the peace, but when they failed, she would spiral into self-blame. What did I do wrong? Was I not attentive enough? Did I say the wrong thing? Her entire sense of self-worth became tethered to her ability to make Mark happy. This is the ultimate form of control. You are so busy managing their inner world that you completely neglect your own. You forget what you like, what you want, what makes you angry or sad. You become a hollowed-out vessel, existing only to contain and manage their emotions. This is the shadow of the people-pleaser in its most destructive form, the belief that your value comes from your ability to serve and soothe others, even at the cost of your own emotional existence. The way to stop being an emotional janitor is to go on strike. It's one of the hardest things you will ever do. It means allowing them to be in a bad mood without you rushing in to fix it. It means letting them sit with their own anger, their own sadness, their own anxiety. You must emotionally detach with love. You can say, "I can see you're having a tough day. I'm here if you want to talk about it, but I am going to go read my book now." This statement is revolutionary. You are acknowledging their state without accepting responsibility for it. You are offering support without becoming the solution. The first time you do this, it will feel like you are dropping a bomb. The controller will be baffled, then likely angry. They will try to pull you back into the dance through guilt, "So you're just going to leave me like this?" Or by escalating their mood. You must stand firm. You are teaching them, and more importantly, you are teaching yourself that their emotions are their own. You are reclaiming the vast emotional energy you've been spending on them and reinvesting it back into yourself. It's the beginning of remembering who you are when you're not trying to be someone else's thermostat. Sign number 6, the we that erases you. Language is a powerful tool, and in the hands of a controller, the word we can be a weapon of identity erasure. At first, it sounds romantic and unifying. We love that restaurant. We think that movie was overrated. We should save up for a trip to Italy. It fosters a sense of a shared journey, a team, but pay close attention. When does we stop being about shared experiences and start being about shared identity, with their identity being the dominant one? The controlling we is used to speak for you. It's when they say, "Oh, we don't really like crowded parties," in front of your friends, even though you love parties. It's when they tell their family, "We've decided to move to the suburbs," when it was really their decision that you've been reluctantly going along with. The we becomes a blanket they throw over your individuality. Your unique preferences, opinions, and dreams are quietly absorbed into the collective, which is really just a monarchy ruled by them. There's no longer a separate you with independent thoughts. To disagree with the we is to be disagreeable, to be a traitor to the team. This is a subtle but profound form of psychological absorption. You start to lose the thread of your own desires. After hearing "we don't like spicy food" for years, you might genuinely forget that you once loved it. You internalize their preferences as your own because it's easier than constantly fighting for your own perspective to exist. Imagine a couple, James and Maria. Maria is the controller. James had a lifelong dream of learning to sail. Early in their relationship, he brought it up. Maria, who dislikes the water, said, "Oh, that's interesting. We should look into it sometime." but sometime never came. Instead, Maria would fill their weekends with activities she enjoyed, always framing them as shared desires. I found this amazing hiking trail we're going to love. I booked a cabin for us in the mountains for the holiday. When James would bring up sailing again, she'd say, "But I thought we decided we were more of a mountain couple. You love hiking with me so much." She used his enjoyment of one thing as evidence against his desire for another. She constructed a we identity. The mountain hiking couple, and anything outside of that, like James's dream of sailing, became a threat to that shared identity. James, a classic people pleaser, found it hard to argue. He didn't want to disrupt the happy we. So his dream was shelved, then forgotten, erased by the powerful collective pronoun. He had been assimilated. To fight this, you must consciously and verbally reintroduce I into the conversation. It's a small word, but it's an act of rebellion. When they say, "We think politics are boring," you can say, gently but firmly, "Well, I actually find it quite interesting and would like to talk about it." When they say, "We're staying in tonight," you can respond, "You might be staying in, but I feel like seeing my friends." This is about drawing a clear boundary around your own psyche. You are asserting that the two of you are a Venn diagram, not a single circle. There is a you, a me, and an us, and the us does not get to cannibalize the other two. Reclaiming the word I is reclaiming your right to exist as a separate, sovereign individual within the relationship. It's a declaration that your thoughts, feelings, and dreams are not up for a vote. They are yours. Sign number 7, selective memory and subtle gaslighting. This is where the trap becomes a house of mirrors. The controller manipulates your sense of reality by curating the past. They have a pristine, high-definition memory for every mistake you've ever made, every time you were late, every word you misspoke. These are brought up frequently, often disguised as jokes or teasing, to keep you in a state of mild shame and to reinforce your narrative as the flawed, forgetful, or unreliable one in the relationship. Conversely, they develop a convenient amnesia for their own failings. Promises they made vanish into thin air, hurtful things they said never happened, or you're misremembering. Your clear memory of an event is met with a calm, confident denial. "No, that's not how it went. You're being overly sensitive. I would never say that. You must have misunderstood." This is low-grade, chronic gaslighting. It's not a single, dramatic lie, but a constant, gentle erosion of your trust in your own mind. Like water dripping on a stone, it eventually wears you down. You start to second-guess yourself. Maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe I am misremembering. His version does sound plausible. You begin to doubt your own perception, your own sanity. Let's look at Liam and his partner, Evan. Liam is a people pleaser, and Evan is the master of selective memory. One night, Evan promised he would handle the dishes after Liam cooked a big meal. The next morning, the dishes are still in the sink. When Liam brings it up, Evan looks at him, completely bewildered, and says, "What are you talking about? I never said that. I was exhausted. Why would I promise to do the dishes?" Liam is certain he heard it. He remembers the exact conversation. But Evan's denial is so absolute, so convincing, that a sliver of doubt enters Liam's mind. This happens again and again in small ways. Evan forgets a promise to pick up milk. He denies having agreed to visit Liam's parents. He twists the details of a past argument to make Liam seem like the irrational one. Meanwhile, Evan will frequently bring up the time Liam was 30 minutes late to a movie 2 years ago, always with a little laugh. Good old Liam, can't trust him with the time. The cumulative effect is devastating. Liam starts to feel like he's going crazy. He feels perpetually off balance, untrusting of his own memory. He starts deferring to Evan's version of reality on everything, because fighting it is too exhausting and he no longer trusts his own. Evan has successfully established himself as the official historian of the relationship. He controls the past, and by controlling the past, he controls the present. Liam is trapped in a narrative where he is always slightly wrong, slightly flawed, and therefore always indebted to the patient, stable, and correct Evan. The only way to escape this house of mirrors is to become a ruthless record keeper. This is where journaling becomes a tool of survival, not just self-discovery. After a significant conversation or argument, write down exactly what was said, what was promised, and how you felt. Date it. Be specific. This is not for them. This is for you. This is your anchor to reality. When the gaslighting starts, when they try to rewrite history, you don't need to argue with them. You can look at your own written record and know with absolute certainty that you are not crazy. Your journal becomes your external hard drive for your sanity. It allows you to say to yourself, my memory is correct, my feelings are valid, their version is not the truth. This private validation is the first step to dismantling their control over your reality. Sign number 8. Praise as a performance metric. In a healthy bond, affection and praise are given freely as an expression of love and appreciation. In the people-pleaser's trap, praise is not a gift, it's a paycheck. It's a reward dispensed only when you perform your role correctly. The controller uses praise and its withdrawal to train you, like a behavioral psychologist training a lab rat. When you are compliant, agreeable, and cater to their needs, the praise flows. You're so amazing. You take such good care of me. I don't know what I'd do without you. This praise feels wonderful to the people-pleaser who is starved for validation. It's a powerful drug. You learn that doing X, Y, and Z results in that good feeling. But the moment you step out of line, the moment you assert a boundary, disagree with them, or prioritize your own needs, the warmth vanishes. It's replaced by a chilling silence, a palpable disappointment, or subtle, cutting remarks. The praise faucet is turned off completely. There's no big fight, just the cold absence of the approval you've become addicted to. This creates a powerful and frightening feedback loop. Your nervous system learns compliance equals warmth and safety. Autonomy equals coldness and rejection. Over time, you subconsciously start to edit your own behavior to avoid the cold and seek the warmth. You stop bringing up difficult topics. You agree to things you don't want to do. You suppress your own opinions. You are, in effect, being conditioned. Think about a woman named Sophie, whose partner Alex used this tactic brilliantly. When Sophie would cancel her plans to stay home with Alex, he would shower her with affection, telling her she was the most loyal and loving partner in the world. When she cooked his favorite meals and didn't ask for any help, he would praise her culinary skills endlessly. But one week, Sophie decided to enroll in a pottery class that met on Tuesday nights. It was something just for her. The first Tuesday she went, Alex was distant and cool when she got home. He gave one-word answers. He didn't compliment the dinner she'd made ahead of time. He just radiated a low hum of disapproval. When she asked what was wrong, he said, "Nothing, I'm just tired." But Sophie knew this was the cold. This was the punishment for choosing herself over him. The following week, feeling anxious about a repeat performance, Sophie wasn't feeling well and skipped her pottery class. Instantly, the warmth returned. Alex was chatty, affectionate, and complimentary again. The message was crystal clear. Your joy is fine as long as it doesn't inconvenience me. Your growth is wonderful as long as it happens within the walls I've built. This is the most insidious form of control because it makes you your own jailer. The controller doesn't have to put up bars, they just have to control the emotional weather. You learn to stay inside where it's warm, and you begin to believe you're doing it by your own choice. Breaking free from this requires you to go through praise and approval detox. You have to be willing to sit in the cold. You must intentionally do things that are for you, knowing it will result in the withdrawal of their approval. Go to your pottery class, meet your friend for dinner, state your unpopular opinion, and when the coldness comes, you must learn to self-soothe. You must learn to give yourself the validation you are no longer receiving from them. You have to tell yourself, I am proud of myself for honoring my own needs. My worth is not determined by their mood. I am okay even if they are displeased. This is the core of individuation, the Jungian concept of becoming a whole, integrated self. It's choosing the discomfort of your own path over the hollow comfort of their approval. So there they are, the 8 signs of the people-pleaser's trap: generosity as a leash, the sabotage of self-reliance, weaponized concern, the monopoly on your time, emotional outsourcing, the we that erases you, selective memory, and praise as a performance metric. Seeing these patterns is the first crucial step, but knowledge without action is just another form of self-sabotage. You are standing at a crossroads. One path leads back into the warm, comfortable, gilded cage. It's the easy path. It requires only that you continue to shrink, to please, to perform. The other path is hard. It leads into the cold, uncertain wilderness of self-reclamation. It will be met with resistance, with guilt trips, with emotional tantrums from the person who is losing control. But that path, and only that path, leads back to you. It leads to a life where your generosity is a true gift, not a debt, where your competence is a source of pride, not a threat, where your time is your own, your emotions are your own, your reality is your own, and your worth is inherent, not earned through applause. The work begins now. It begins with one small no. One boundary held, one journal entry that reclaims your truth. You are not ungrateful for wanting freedom. You are not crazy for trusting your own mind. You are not difficult for having your own needs. You are a human being waking up, and the journey of waking up is the most important journey you will ever take. Do not be afraid of the life you will build when you are finally free to build it.